Right, hi friends. So in this video, I want to go ahead and show you 3 ways to make your XRP work for you, and that will be able to generate you additional cash flow without actually selling your XRP bags. So please keep in mind that XRP as an asset is not designed to be used in DeFi, so to speak. Yes, there are opportunities emerging as we speak, but as an asset itself, as its core, it is designed for a completely opposite thing that we're not gonna go deep into it for now, but still, current technologies, the protocols that are being built are still trying to utilize as much as possible XRP as an asset that you can actually use and manipulate across different decentralized finance protocols, platforms, etc., to try and generate some sort of a yield. So even though XRP natively on its own chain, XRPL, is not something extraordinary when it comes to cash flow building, but it's still possible. So in this video, I want to cover 3 top places to generate cash flow and additional income or stack more XRPs long term without actually selling it. And there are more ways coming as far as I know, like a staked XRP, etc. So as soon as those are launching as well, I will make sure to update the video as well. But for now, let's begin with the easiest thing, which is basically lending your XRP and earning and interest rates across different DeFi platforms. So for this one, you will have to still wrap your XRP either on a cbXRP, which is a Coinbase wrapped XRP, which is 1-to-1 equal asset, or Flare XRP using the F assets and fXRP. What is the difference? Very simple. cbXRP is a centralized XRP, so to speak, meaning that Coinbase, the same as cbBTC, cbETH, and cbXRP, for example, it basically means that when you have a native XRP, the actual XRP, and you convert that to cbXRP, this is exactly the same asset. It just means that cbXRP is designed to be used across different chains and not just natively on XRP. So in other words, this is a copy of XRP on different chains like Ethereum, Base, even Solana is possible as well, Avalanche or something like that. But essentially the main is the Base chain, where you can actually utilize your XRP to be able to use it to unlock liquidity, to lend, or deploy into liquidity pools. Basically, all it means that if you have one cbXRP, there is one native XRP stored in Coinbase. So this is the centralized approach. Now the fXRP, the Flare network XRP, the fXRP, is the same thing essentially, but made on a decentralized matter, meaning that you mint fXRP using your native XRP, and there are enough collateral covering 1-to-1 ratio as well using Flare and XRP, so you are able to mint fXRP using native XRP, and then whenever you want, redeem from fXRP back to native XRP. Okay, the same thing is valid for cbXRP as well. You are able to convert cbXRP back to native XRP. Some people that are involved in XRP are really based on a lot of conspiracy theories, and they are afraid to actually use that XRP and utilize it to generate yield or unlock liquidity, which is understandable from one point, but at the same time, I mean, everything has a line, right? And sometimes too much is too much. So let's relax a little bit, and you don't need to use all of your XRP holdings to do this, but you can use small part of it to essentially make more money. Why not, right? XRP sitting idle is good enough, but it can be way better just by utilizing that and not being afraid of some sort of a conspiracy theories that someone will steal it from you. No one will steal anything from you if you are not giving your wallet access left, right, and center. If you are smart enough and mature enough in the markets, everything's going to be totally fine. You are still in control. In DeFi, you are in control. So lending your cbXRP or fXRP. You can do that using platforms like Moonwell. So let me show you right away. You go to Moonwell, you go to the markets, and you will find cbXRP, Coinbase XRP. As you can see, there is 2.5 million XRPs, so 6 million worth of XRP supplied, and almost 5 million of those is borrowed, okay? Or within the liquidity, so to speak. Sorry. So you're able to supply your cbXRP right here from your wallet, right? You're able to do that, and you will be earning approximately 0.8% API, which is pretty much nothing, right? Less than 1% a year is definitely will not make you rich, so to speak, unless you are operating with tens of millions of dollars, right? But still, this is an option. Instead of making the XRP sitting idle, and the only way to make more money is by waiting for the price appreciation, this could be a very easy, very simple option to supply it on a lending protocol and basically hold it there and be able to borrow against it that I will explain later, or simply keep it there and earn a tiny bit of API on top of your deposit, right? So this is the first way, using cbXRP. Now you can also use a fXRP to do the same thing, and for this you have to go to the Kinetic protocol. So you go to the Kinetic protocol, we click on launch the app, okay, let it load quickly. I will connect my wallet just very quickly to show how it all works. So I will use the Coin Wallet Connect. Okay, I will quickly scan it. Okay, so we have the wallet now connected, and we can go to supply and borrow. We can choose the fXRP USDT 0 market, and now as you can see, you are able to supply fXRP and earn approximately 4.6%, which is way more, pretty much 5 times more than cbXRP. So basically all you do is from your native XRP, you mint fXRP, right? And then all the fXRP that you have in your wallet, you are able to supply on Kinetic and basically keep it there. And it's going to be earning you 4.62% on average. This is a dynamic number. It always changes based on the utilization rate of the pool. I will not go into the technicalities of this. We cover all of that in DeFi House community platform, but just to give you a general understanding, basically when you have a lot of assets deposited and a lot of assets borrowed at the same time, then the protocol using dynamic formula will increase the interest rates for those that lend, right? And for those that borrow as well. And then when more deposits arrive, so there are more assets supplied and less assets borrowed, then the APIs will become lower as well, because there are enough free money, so to speak, to be used there is enough liquidity to be used still to borrow. So there is no need to incentivize new deposits using higher APIs. So essentially you can go here and you will see that if you supply fXRP, you will be getting 4.6%. Simple as that. And if you supply USDT 0 for the fXRP pool, you will be earning 17%. This is not about USDT, but still it's a possibility, right? And as you can see in this pool, there is almost 80 million worth of XRP supplied. So there are people doing that and doing that successfully. There is no need to be scared of touching your XRP holdings to make more money. 4.6% API is definitely not too bad, right? To be earning just from the asset that used to be the only use case for it used to be as an investor to hold it and let it sit idle. Now you have options. So you go to Kinetic or Moonwell and you're able to supply your XRP, right? I've showed you how to do this before. I'm not gonna go into each individual step on this video. I just want to show you the opportunities available. If you want to understand in detail how to actually do all of that, you can go ahead and watch my other videos or simply join DeFi House, and everything that about that, making a living, so to speak, from a DeFi pools is explained there. So the first option is lending your XRP. That's it. And by the way, just to answer one of the most common questions, can you withdraw your money at any time? Yes, you can. You can withdraw your XRP from Moonwell or Kinetic at any time. You can deposit right now and withdraw the next second, or after a month, a year, 5 years, it doesn't matter. You have to, understand that you have a full control. This is decentralized finance, meaning that all the protocols are permissionless, meaning that there is no centralized entity approving or disapproving transactions. So when you click on send money, you will send it, no one can stop it. And when you click withdraw money, you will get your money back, no one can stop it. The only risk involved in these kind of environments is the smart contract risk. It's the same as, for example, someone would hack a bank, right? It's a rare occurrence, but it could happen. These days, it's not often. It's very, very rarely that such events happen, because audition companies, the protocols themselves are really good at making the protocols and contracts secure. But the worst case scenario that can happen, that there will be some sort of a smart contract vulnerability. This can happen to anyone at any time, so to speak, even on the native XRP ledger. It just never happened, never happened yet, and I don't think it will happen on these protocols because they are really well built. But on the newer ones or dodgy ones, some protocols leave backdoors on purpose so they can hack them themselves, so to speak, steal the money and say, sorry, we got hacked. But even these days, people know how to analyze these things, and then eventually justice is achieved. So there is, it's a very, very minimal risk, so to speak, that the smart contract will get compromised. Okay, so yes, you do have a full control. You can supply at any time, you can withdraw at any time. Number two, supplying XRP into liquidity pools, LPs, so to speak, to earn the fees. So this involves platforms like SparkDex, Enosis, Aerodrome, etc. Right? And this means that on a decentralized matter, financials, right, on DeFi, you are able to swap between assets. You're able to buy XRP without any centralized exchanges. You cannot do that natively, but you can do that using the wrapped XRPs like fXRP or cbXRP or uXRP, etc., etc. There are multiple options available. And you're able to buy XRP or swap from one asset to another, from Bitcoin to XRP, from XRP to Bitcoin, from ETH to XRP, etc., etc. There are options available on a decentralized financial platforms that does not involve any centralized exchange. So when each of the transaction happens, let's say someone swaps between cbBTC and cbXRP, on every single transaction, the one that is actually swapping will have to pay a fee. And that fee goes directly to people like me, liquidity providers, because you supply the assets into the pool so others can trade from that pool. So every single time someone swaps and pays a transaction fee, not a gas fee, but the transaction fee on the platform itself, that fee will go to me and other people like me that provide liquidity into the pool. So this way, we are able to generate cash flow just by holding the assets inside the pool. The concept is a bit more advanced. I explained it all on my channel, so go and watch DeFi Fundamentals. There are 10 videos, more or less, covering every single thing, how to deploy into the pool, how to make money, all the little things explaining you. So if you watch all of those videos, by tomorrow, you will be earning your first money in crypto that you have never even thought is possible. So just do it, right? Don't be lazy. So for this, let me show you a few examples. So if we go to one of the platforms, and if we go to the DeFi pools, liquidity pools, and choose XRP, as you can see, look how many options we have. And some of them have TVL of a few million, 2.2, 2.1, 1.9, 1.7, 1.2 million. And for the past 7 days, those pools paid about 3.2K in fees. This one 14, this is the main one, 14K in fees, 6K, 2K, 3.7K in fees, meaning that people been swapping between one asset and another one and paying that fee. Okay, so the most common one is this one, as you can see, cbXRP versus cbBTC, meaning that you provide into the pool XRP and BTC, and then when someone is swapping between those two assets, they're paying the fee, and that fee goes to you. So essentially, over the long-term perspective, you are earning more XRP and BTC just by holding those assets inside the pool. Sounds good, right? And even though the returns are pretty small for XRP pools because they are not as widely popular, volatile, and they don't generate high volumes, at least for now, it is still an option. To be honest, across DeFi pools, I myself and the rest of the DeFi House team, we are generating approximately 6 to 9% a month, but we are using a blue chip assets like ETH, Solana, Sui, and similar to participate in DeFi pools, right? With XRP, it's still possible, but it requires way higher capital or a very active pools management. So this is a bit of a different, but it's still an option because you can deploy into, for example, this pool with 2.2 million in TVL, 3.2K paid in fees, and this is basically involves two assets, UXRP, which is the universal XRP, the same as cbXRP, just from a different provider, so to speak, versus ETH. So when someone swaps between UXRP to ETH or from ETH to UXRP, they pay the fee, that fee goes to you. And you get the fees in both assets that are in the pool. So every single time someone swaps, you get a little part of XRP and ETH. And that's how you can grow the assets just by holding initial investment inside the pool. You can even use this strategy to not actually generate cash flow and live from it, but just to stack more assets on a long-term perspective. You make a pool pretty wide, okay? You make a pool pretty wide, so you are always in range, and then you essentially keep it running, and that's it. And every single time someone makes a swap, you get part of the fees. And then eventually you are stacking more assets. So you have multiple options. You can just stack more assets and hold them in your wallet. You're able to compound those assets back to the pool and grow your position size and then earn more and more and more eventually over the long-term perspective. There are multiple options available. So you do have different options, right? As you can see, if cbXRP, this is the pool, paid 6K in fees, 3 million in TVL. You go to the platform, you set the ranges. Let's say you do 40% range, more or less. This number is dynamic. It's always changing. Sometimes you will see 5%, sometimes 25%, sometimes 3%, because it changes based on the volumes of the pool, okay? And then eventually you can just keep the assets there because you hold them anyway. So instead of letting them sit idle, you're able to keep them in the pool, right? And then eventually after each swap, you will earn more fees. I'm not going too detailed into how it works. This video is not about that, but I'm just showing you options. Look at how many pools you have. You don't need to use all of them. Most likely you will use either this one, if cbXRP, or cbXRP, cbBTC for that one, or you can go to platforms like SparkDex, which is the Flare DEX, so to speak, built on Flare, and you do have options. You have a Bugo fXRP pool, for example, or you can find the actual Flare fXRP 1 million in TVL, and you will find fXRP USDT as well, right? 2.7 million, and you can actually deploy into this pool very simply, right? And you will get the rewards in Flare tokens plus more fXRP and more USDT 0, okay? Just by holding the asset inside this pool. So you set the range, right? Whatever range you want. While you are in that range of XRP price, you will be earning the fees. If you get out of range, you will no longer earn the fees, but the position is still there. You can withdraw at any time, add more at any time. It's totally up to you what you're going to be doing. But essentially, while you are in range, you will earn the fees. When you get out of the range, you will no longer earn the fees, but the position is still here. I mean, the money is still here. It's just out of your selected range, meaning that your liquidity is no longer working because it's out of the brackets, right? So one of the options is use SparkDex. Another option is to use Enosis. So for example, on Enosis, you go to this DEX, you connect the wallet as well, which is a Bifrost wallet in this case. And as you can see, you have the Flare fXRP, the same pool as you have on SparkDex. You also have fXRP USDT 0 pool. As you can see, the TVL is a bit smaller, but I've noticed it's a bit more active, so to speak. So in this case, you can click on it. Once again, you choose custom and you set the range yourself, the upper and the lower and upper prices, and you have this position ready. I do have a demo position on this DEX, on this wallet. I do have a bigger ones from my main wallets, but for the video purposes, I have a small position here. As you can see, 822 deployed, and I have $10 in unclaimed fees. So as you can see, by just keeping the money here in fXRP and USDT, I've earned additional 2 XRPs and $5, so to speak, within a short period of time, because this money is now working inside of the liquidity pool. So as I said, you do need to have a big capital to make a substantial amounts from liquidity pools on XRP, but it's still, even with smaller capital, it's a good practice to start learning these things. So you have the fees, you have the incentive rewards, and my range on this position is 238 per XRP to 3.48, and the current price is 240. So I am pretty close to my minimum price. If it goes out of range, There is not a problem. The only difference is that this amount of money will be a bit of a less because XRP price is dropping, and I will not be earning the fees because my position is not in range. As soon as it goes back to range, then I will earn the fees again. The same thing happens if XRP is going up and it goes to, let's say, 3.5. I will be out of range. This amount will be much higher because XRP appreciated in price, and I will still be no longer earning the fees because I'm out of my range bracket. And as you can see, I can always increase liquidity, so I can add more money or decrease and withdraw money from the pool at any given moment. I am in full control. What I am explaining here, I'm trying to make it very simple without any complicated words or strategies or techniques. I just show you the actual opportunity that it is possible, but all the concept behind it is explained on my previous videos and inside the DeFi House, okay? So the fact that I just said, oh, you keep the money here, you will earn the fees, it sounds very simple. It is simple, but execution point, you have to be strategical about it because you have multiple options to enter. Fully in XRP, partly in USDT and XRP, fully in USDT, and as the price of XRP goes down, you are buying more. There are multiple options available, okay? So you have to understand that. This is just a very generic, high-level information for you to know that opportunities exist. So, lastly, number 3, you can use your XRP as collateral and then borrow in stablecoin like USDC against your XRP, and then you can use the borrowed USDC to do whatever you want, but the best case scenario would be to actually deploy that borrowed USDC into different blue chip pools and earn additional cash flow and additional income while your native original XRPs, so to speak, they are working as collateral. So you deploy, let's say you deployed $10,000 worth of XRP to Moonwell, right? Right here. As you can see, I've supplied in this case almost 700 XRPs, which is 1.6K. I have it as collateral, so I am able to borrow against my XRP. So you go to here, you click on borrow, and as you can see, I am able to borrow USDC, whatever else I want, right? Based on what you have supplied. So let's say for simple math, you supplied $10K worth of cbXRP, you're able to borrow up to 8K, for example. So you borrow 5K, never borrow maximum what you can get, because then if XRP goes down in price, your collateral value also goes down in price because your collateral is XRP. So if your collateral loses more than your deft, the protocol will have to liquidate you and sell part of your XRP to cover your deft, because the protocol cannot go to a loss, because it's just not how it works, so to speak, right? The protocol needs to have safety mechanisms, meaning that if you left your XRP as collateral and it's going down in price and you are not reacting, you are not repaying the loan or adding more collateral, the protocol will have to liquidate part of your capital to ensure that the protocol is not losing money, right, on your bad debt. It's just a standard across everything, even in traditional finances as well. The same works with banks, loans, everything, right? So then you borrow, let's say you had 10K deposited, 8K limit, so you borrowed 5K just to be more towards a safer zone. So you borrowed 5K USDC, so now you cannot withdraw your XRP from Moonwell because you have an active debt. As long as you repay the debt, you will be able to withdraw your XRP at the same second. It's all permissionless. It's just how a smart contract designed to keep the position safe, so you cannot deploy XRP, borrow USDC, and then take out your XRP as well without repaying the debt. This is not possible, right? Nowhere in any financial markets. So over collateralized loans works this way. You keep more collateral, you borrow less, you can use the borrowed capital how you wish, then you repay the loan using the repay button, and then essentially you get back your collateral. Simple as that. But now your XRP is still active and sitting, acting as collateral, so you are still exposed to XRP price. If it goes up or down, you are exposed to that volatility, which is good. But if you borrowed 5K, you can now go to, let's say, any assets. Let's say the biggest ones could be ETHUSDC, for example, this one that I do have an open position here. As you can see, we have 34 million TVL and almost 500,000 paid in fees. So if you choose a smart range, which is not too big and not too small, so you stay in range for a few weeks, so to speak, you will be earning more ETH and USDC in yield using those 5K. So you can cover easily additional income, deploy into the pool, earn more money, and when you decide that it's time to close this thing off, you withdraw from this pool, you get back your capital plus whatever fees you earned, and then you can repay the loan. Of course, it's not as simple as I just said, because ETH can go up or down, and if it goes down and you added 5K worth of ETH into the pool, you will probably have less, right? Because the market is, you are still exposed to market volatility. Same thing can happen if you added 5K worth of ETH into the pool. ETH is going up, you will have more, so you will have way easier time repaying the debt. There are still mathematical things involved that you have to calculate and be strategic about, but it's an option, right? Your XRP is acting as collateral, no problems there. You borrow in stables, you use the borrowed stables across any DeFi pools, the safest ones, the biggest ones, right? If you don't want to overexpose yourself to volatility and deploy into the smaller, riskier pools, but they offer very high returns. And then essentially you keep this flywheel running for as long as you want. And if XRP is going up in price, your collateral value is also going up in price, because those XRPs are still XRPs, right? And then eventually when you decide to, okay, I want to get my XRP back, you repay the debt that you borrowed in USDC, you repay that and you get back your XRP. So maybe you deposited 10K worth of XRP, and after a year, you've been yielding in DeFi right here, using borrowed capital, those 5K for example, you made some nice additional income, and XRP went up, and now your collateral is worth 17K for example. So all you do, you repay the 5K that you borrowed, and you get back your XRP, which is now worth 17K, right? It's an option, why not? So don't be afraid to use XRP and unlock liquidity by either borrowing against it or lend your XRP and earn additional yield. And on fXRP, as you noticed, there are multiple options available, and you can do the cbXRP, which is a low supply returns, or fXRP offering more than 4%. Also, Enosys DEX is also announcing their own loans a provision pretty soon, so you will be able to borrow from Enosys as well, the same as you have on Kinetic. There are options available, right? And you're able to do that. You can also supply the XRP into liquidity pools and stack more XRPs long term. So now, because right here I've supplied a small amount, of course, but still you earn additional 2 XRPs just by keeping the money inside this pool. That's it. So you would hold this XRP anyway in your wallet. So instead you can supply to a liquidity pool if you don't care about the ratios, yeah, because the amount will be as it is, the ratio can be different. If XRP is going up, you will be converted towards USDT based on your range. If it's going down, you will be converted towards more XRP, so to speak. I've explained all of that on other videos on my channel, so go and watch that. But I am still making a bit more XRP every single day, every single minute, so to speak. When someone swaps between fXRP to USDT 0 on this pool, I get part of that fee. That's it. Very simple. So I can keep here my XRPs. I can have a nice big range. So I am always in range earning the fees. The bigger the range, the smaller the returns. The smaller the range, the bigger the returns. But the smaller the range, the easier for the prices to go out of range, and then you are earning no returns. So it's best to have an optimum strategy. I have endless ways to determine what is the good range on the pool, which is explained everything inside the DeFi house. So you set the range and you keep it there, and you are stacking more XRP, and then you can claim these fees at any time as well. Every day, every month, at the end of the month, at the end of the week, it doesn't matter. It's totally up to you. You are able to claim this money at any time and add back to the pool, withdraw, spend, or stack more XRPs long term. Simple as that. So guys, these are the top 3 ways you can actually use your XRP to do your best to stack a bit more and earn additional income. So hopefully this video will be beneficial. Make sure to watch other videos inside my channel where I explain the whole concept behind liquidity pools and how it all works, okay? And of course, as always, as soon as we have more updates, more ways to make more money using decentralized finance protocols and XRP, of course, I will cover that and make a video about it. So thank you, have a fantastic November, and I will see you on the next one.